Good day, everyone. We will be discussing our chapter 5 for applied economics. Now, these are now the demand concepts. Now, we will talk about everything about demand. All right, so let us define what demand is. So, it refers to the behavior of people with regard to their willingness and ability to buy products at a given price. Okay, so in the concept of supply and demand, okay, the supply part will come from the producers or the businessmen, while the demand side will come from the consumers or the market. So the demand is their willingness to purchase those available supply. So even if we have supply, it doesn't mean that everything will be sold, everything will be consumed. It will still depend on the willingness and the ability from the demand side. So an example here, yan. In this picture, we have Good Taste. Now, Good Taste is one of the popular restaurants in Baguio. The demand is very high to the point na meron pang pila outside. Ayan, in the picture. This is pre-pandemic, nung wala pa yung ating COVID. Pinipilahan talaga siya ng tao. And sometimes it would even take hours no, before you can eat inside Good Taste because of the high demand of this specific product. Now, there are some restaurants no, in Baguio, even if there is a high demand para sa food, wala pa rin ang bumibili sa kanila. Ayan. So, again, if we will go back to the concept of demand, this is now the willingness of the customer to buy a specific type of product. If you still remember our discussion nung last, di ba? Which one should be focused? Should we focus on the needs or should we focus on the wants on the market? This is one example no na businesses or the supply side should focus on the want. Tingnan nyo to. Food. Food is available even in this restaurant. Yet, the demand pumupunta dun sa good taste. The preference, the willingness of them to buy a specific type of product. Alright? So, purchasing power. What is purchasing power naman? The willingness and ability to buy and not the needs and wants of the consumers. Ability to buy, which means even if they want to purchase a specific product, but if it is not within their budget, they do not have the capacity to buy. I guess this is the better term. Purchasing power is the capacity to buy. I'll give you an example. Let's say, babalik tayo sa food. Let's say this woman here is a student. Usually, ang baon ng isang estudyante daily is 100 to 200 pesos. Yan, very limited budget. Kung nagugutom ka bilang estudyante, where do you usually buy your food? 'Di ba? Dun sa mga restaurants who can offer a cheaper product. Okay, a cheaper price. Kaya pumupunta tayo dun sa mga karinderya that can offer yung mga student meals for 50 to 60 pesos. Kasi it is within our purchasing power as a student. But once you are a professional, ito, if you are a professional, you are already starting to earn more money as compared nung estudyante ka na umaasa ka lang sa baon. Your purchasing power has already been increased. Therefore, kung estudyante ka, karinderiya ka lang kumakain, now that you are a professional, you can eat sa mga restaurants. Pwede ka na mag-Jollibee, pwede ka na mag-Good Taste, etc. Your purchasing power has increased. So your capacity to pay also had increased. How about kung elderly ka na? In other states or in other countries, meron tayo yung concept na tinatawag nating retirement, no? Which apparently seldom na nangyayari dito sa Philippines. When you say retirement, nakapag-build ka na ng wealth at wala ka nang masyadong ginagawa sa iyong buhay. That's why it's time for you to spend your wealth. So in other countries, no, if you are already retired, your purchasing power is very high. Kaya yung ginagawa ng mga retirees doon is bumibili sila ng mga vacation houses, nagta-travel around the world, they invest more on experience, yung mga expensive experience such as yung mga scuba diving, skydiving. These are all expensive purchases kasi they have higher purchasing power because of their retirement funds, I mean. In the Philippines, the concept of retirement is, kumbaga medyo, if I may say, no, medyo mali. Dahil the retirement in the Philippines, they only nagre-rely lang sila dun sa kanilang pension fund, no, yung mga SSS, which is around 5 to 6,000 monthly, which is not even enough, no, for their medicine. But for other countries, as young as 20, they are already building their retirement funds. Nag-iipon na sila. Once they will reach 60, 65, naipon yung retirement fund, there is something for them to spend. Okay? Anyway, that is the concept of purchasing power, the capacity to spend. Wait a minute. Let me just check. All right, so let's continue. Excuse me. All right. Another concept dito is the quantity demanded. Dito na magmamatch yung ating demand and the supply. Okay? So, again, not necessarily na if I have a supply, everything will be purchased. There is a quantity demanded, which means that there is a percentage of the available supply that will only be bought by the consumers or the demand side. I'll give you an example dito. It's a common problem natin dito sa Baguio Benguet. In terms sa vegetable, usually our farmers are producing and producing and producing vegetables without even considering the quantity demanded. Quantity demanded means that there is only a specific amount that consumers will buy. So, the excess amount, wala nang bibili niyan. Anong mangyayari? Ito, itatapon nila, which is nakakalungkot. That's why even yung sinabi ko nung prelims, no, even for farmers, no, very important rin aralin ang concept ng economics para walang nasasayang. My suggestion is, they do yung, sabi nga nila is yung vegetable engineering or vegetable planning, which means that they will not plant and plant and plant and plant without even considering the demand. Di ba? Yung mga demand natin. Ang downside lang nun, of course, farmers will not do that kasi as much as possible, di ba, they want to maximize their land. So, itataniman nila lahat yun para hindi sayang, sabi nga nila. But what if they would divide, no, yung kanilang lot, they will divide based on the quantity demanded, yung historical records, they will plant a specific vegetable on this area, another vegetable on this area, etc., 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 para walang maging spoilage. Anyway, that would be a topic, no, for another meeting. I hope you get, no, the concept of quantity demanded. I repeat, there is an only specific or optimal level of the supply that the demand side is willing to purchase or is willing to consume. Okay? That's your QD. Remember yan kasi we will be using these terms once we will go to our computations. Okay, so a tabular presentation of quantity demanded at a given price or P is called the demand schedule. Ayan. The graphical representation naman is the demand curve. This is the example of the demand curve. So can you observe something here? Ayan. Makikita natin dito yung law of demand. Okay, so let us discuss the law of demand. Is simply understood to be what, when the prices of the product increase, the tendency of consumers is to buy less of the product. But when the prices of the product decrease, the normal tendency of the consumer is to buy more of this product. Tingnan natin to. We have price 1 and price 2. We also have quantity 1 and quantity 2. In price 1, it is, price 1 is lower. Yan, kasi medyo malapit siya sa 0. So this is the lower price as compared to price 2. But you notice, when the price is lower, the quantity is higher. Kaya tumapat siya dun sa quantity 2. Pero once we increase the price dito sa P2, if you notice, bumaba naman natin yung quantity. So the quantity depends on the price. That is now the law of demand. And I repeat, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. The lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. Law of demand. This law, like all other laws, only applies when all other things that might affect the relationship between price, quantity demanded are held constant. Okay? That's why we have the tendency. Which means that the purchasing or the willingness of the demand side to buy products does not only rely on the price. Pero most of the time, syempre dun sa price. That's why we have the non-price determinants of demand. What are the other factors that affects the demand? Okay? Aside from the price. So here are some examples. Ayan. There are other factors that affect demand for products. These are the non-price determinants of demand, such as the income level, distribution of income, population, tastes and preferences, consumer expectation on future prices, and price of related goods or substitutes or complements. We will discuss them one by one. Okay, later. Each non-price determinant has a corresponding effect on the quantity being demanded. And if you notice, these are not related to price, kaya siya non-price. All right, so let's have this graph. Now, we will answer this. So earlier, I have said, di ba, we have non-price determinants, income, distribution of income, population. Ayan. Oops, naulit to. Taste and preferences, and we have the consumer expectation of future prices. Prices of related goods, substitutes, and expectation of future income. Okay, so let's have a simple activity dito, which we are going to do. No? Ayan. Today. Now pala. All right. So let's just discuss what would be the impact, no, to the quantity demanded of this non-price determinant. When we say income, this is now the level of income, no, being earned by the individual. So if there is an increase in income, what will now happen to the quantity demanded? As discussed earlier, di ba? Capacity to buy. Ayan. Or willingness of, capacity to buy. Ayan. As our income increases, our capacity to buy also increases. So even if a product would be having a higher price, but if our income would also increase, syempre the demand will also increase. Okay? Ayan. I repeat, ano nangyari dito? Since our capacity to buy has increased, we can now purchase items or products with higher prices. That's why demand will increase. Okay, how about dito sa decrease in income? What will happen? If our income has decreased, for example, nung nakaraan na start of pandemic, marami nawalan ng trabaho. There's an decrease in income in the family. So, anong ginawa natin, 'di ba? Nagba-budget tayo, we only buy items that we really need for survival. So, luxury items, luxury goods, wala na, out of question. Pero, even yung mga basic necessities natin, we usually buy those cheapest, the products who have the cheapest prices. So, the demand here will decrease. Okay? And decrease in income, demand will decrease. Okay, so that is the income for the individual. How about the distribution of income? When you say distribution of income, this is now the wealth, no, of the Philippines. Saan ba napupunta? We have two options here. Napupunta sa rich, napupunta sa poor. Siyempre, for the rich, ayan, on the part of the rich people, kung napupunta sa kanila ang income, there would be an increase in demand. At ano yung bibilihin nila? Of course, rich people will buy yung mga luxurious goods, yung mga items with higher prices. So, lagyan natin in luxury goods. Okay? Pero what if ang distribution of income natin is napunta sa poor? Ayan. So, there will also be an increase. Sorry. Palitan natin. Increase. Ayan. Increase in demand. At ano naman yung pina-prioritizes ng mga poor? Of course, dun sa kanilang basic needs. So, magkakaroon ng increase in demand in basic goods. Okay, so that is now the effect, no, for the distribution of income for the rich and for the poor. Okay, how about in population? So we have increase and decrease in natality, and we have increase and decrease in mortality. When we say natality, this is naman the birth rate. No? Ilan ba ang napapanganak sa Pilipinas? Okay? Kung marami ang napapanganak sa Pilipinas, of course, the demand will increase. Bakit? Kasi there are more who will consume goods. 'Di ba? Ang baby, hindi naman yan mabubuhay ng araw at hangin lang. He or she will be using or consuming basic needs to survive. So, demand will increase. Pero how about if there is a decrease in natality rates? Konti lang ang pinapanganak. It will mean that konti rin ang gagamit ng mga products. Less will consume products. So, demand will decrease. Okay? How about in mortality rates? Mortality means namamatay or pumapanaw. Ayan, which is nakakalungkot no dito sa current situation natin. Marami tayong nakikita 'di ba through Facebook na marami nga ang mga pumapanaw na family members. So if there is an increase in mortality rates, of course, ang demand will decrease. Why? Because there would be less consumers of products. Pero how about naman if konti lang ang namamatay or there would be a decrease in mortality rates? Of course, the demand will increase kasi there would be more consumers. All right? And so that is the impact of quantity demanded to population. Okay? So let's move on sa next. Okay. Ito na ulit lang. So about dito sa taste and preferences. Ayan. We can also observe this now. Ano ba ang pinapatronize ng mga Pilipino when it comes to products? I guess hindi natin pwedeng itanggi, 'di ba, na ang Korean products now would be on demand kasi because of the boom of the Korean fashion and entertainment industry in the Philippines. So, let's say we will use that favorable taste. Yan, kung ang product natin is Korean at marami marami sa atin ang gusto ng Korean, syempre demand will increase. Ayan. Alright. How about the second? Unfavorable. Let's say Indian. Ayan. Ako. Unfavorable taste. Indian style of products or Indian theme products have less popularity as compared to Korean products dito sa Philippines. So if I will try to sell yung mga Indian na based products, unfavorable taste kasi yung acceptance dito sa Philippines is low pa. So the demand will decrease. Yan. So as a business owner or as a supplier of a product, we must also be aware no dito sa mga taste and preferences by the consumers. Kaya if you notice, di ba, many companies now are adopting yung Korean style na products. Even ano na bang restaurant yun, fast food restaurant, I think McDonald's, di ba, recently nag-offer sila ng Korean burger. Yung medyo spicy na Korean burger. Ayan. Syempre, to take advantage of the present taste and preferences of the market. Okay. Dito tayo sa next. Consumer expectations of future prices. Okay? What do you mean by expectation of future prices? Meron tayong ine-expect na pagtaas ng presyo, di ba, in the future of some prices of the commodities. Ayan. Usually naman nakikita natin to during gabi pag sa TV Patrol or sa mga news na ano natin or sa media, di ba? They usually announce it beforehand na there is an expected increase in prices. Ang example dito is oil or gas. Yan, gas ng sasakyan. So, if you are expecting an increase in future prices, what would be the impact quantity demanded now? Okay? I repeat, there is an expected price in the future. What would be the quantity demanded now? Okay. Balik tayo dun sa example natin na gas. If malaman natin na there would be an increase sa price ng gas next week, anong ginagawa ng mga may sasakyan ngayon? Di ba ngayon sila bumibili, ngayon sila nag-full tank ng kanilang mga sasakyan. So, there is an increase in demand now. Okay? Alright. So, what if naman yung baliktad? Expected decrease in future prices. Let's say, next week, malalaman natin na bababa ang presyo ng gas. Magpapagas ba tayo ngayon? Ano sa tingin niyo? Tama, wait lang. Tama ba itong tinype ko? Expected increase. Okay, tama. Increase in demand na. Ano ang gagawin natin kung may malalaman tayong pag-decrease or pagbaba ng presyo ng gas in the future. Di ba hindi mo na tayo bibili ngayon? We usually wait for until next week once the price will decrease. So now, there is a decrease in demand. Okay? Ayan. Consumer expectation of future prices. Do we have more? Ayan. Alright, so we have three more. How about the prices of related goods, complements, and substitute? Ayan. I think pwede na nating pagsamahin. Complements and substitute. When you say complementary goods, okay, these are goods na kasama or partner nung specific na product. For example, I have a toothpaste. Pwede ko bang gamitin ang toothpaste alone? Of course, I need to buy a toothbrush. Toothpaste and toothbrush are complementary goods. Another example, kumakain ka sa street foods, bumili ka ng siomai, very spicy. Napansin niyo yun, spicy yung lagi nilang linalagay na sauce. Very, very spicy. At katabi nun, merong gulaman. No? Mapapabili ka ng gulaman because the siomai is very spicy. Again, complementary goods. Spicy siomai, cold gulaman. Ayan. They complement each other. Alright. So what if there's an increase of price of the complementary product? What will now happen to the quantity demanded of the product now? Okay? Since they are partners, hinahatak rin nila yung demand. So, balik tayo sa example kanina, yung toothpaste and toothbrush. Kung tumaas ang presyo ng toothpaste, tataas rin ang kung tumaas ang demand at tumaas ang price ng toothpaste, of course, yung demand is bababa. Partner niya yung toothbrush, bababa rin yung demand. So, demand is decreased. Ayan. Kung kabaliktaran naman, tumaas at bumaba ang price ng toothpaste, of course, the demand will go up. Since complementary niya yung isang toothbrush, the demand will be increased. Ayan. Alright? So, yan. Complementary products. How about for substitute products? Substitute products naman is pwede mong i-replace. Okay? It is something that you can replace. For example, you are thirsty. May option ka na Coke. What would be the substitute product for a Coke? Diba? Other products that will satisfy the need. So, Coke, juice can satisfy yung thirst. So, it's a substitute product. Pwede kang bumili ng beer, pwede kang bumili ng buko juice, pwede kang bumili ng even yung water. So, these are substitute products. Okay? It will satisfy the same need. Alright, increase in the price of substitute product. Let's say, ang produkto mo is Coke. Ayan. Biglang tumaas ang price ng mineral water. So, what will happen to your product? Since tumaas ang price ng iyong substitute product or your competitor product, they will now buy from your business or yung produkto mo. So, demand will increase. Ayan. Pero what if bumaba naman yung price ng water? Mas mahal na yung Coke mo. Ayan. Of course, people will prefer yung cheaper product. Kaya bibili sila ng substitute product. So, dito naman, demand will decrease on your product. Lagay nga natin para hindi nakakalito. On your product. Alright. Ayan. Okay. So, we have the last na non-price determinant natin. Expectations of future income as an individual. Okay. Let's say, two scenarios. In the future, you are expecting na tataas ang iyong capacity to buy. Whether mapopromote ka or tataasan ni mama or papa yung baon mo, there would be an expectation for future income. So, what would be the quantity demanded now? Okay. So, you are expecting na tataas ang capacity to buy mo in the future. So, what would be your demand now? Will it increase or will it decrease? Ayan. What do you think? So, dito naman, demand will decrease. Okay. Bakit? Dahil yung iyong expected na mag increase ang capacity will only come in the future. So by now, wala ka pang capacity to buy. So your demand will decrease. At kasalungot naman nun yung expected decrease in future income. Ayan. So dito, demand will increase. Bakit? Kasi now, you have the capacity to buy. So ang demand mo ngayon will be higher. Quantity demanded mo ngayon will be higher. Pero once na in-expect mo na bababa na yan, sasama rin na dun rin bababa ang iyong decrease. Alright? So these are now the non-price determinants. So let's just review. We have the income, distribution of income, population, taste and preferences, consumer expectation of future prices, prices of related goods, complementary goods, prices of related goods, substitute goods, and we have the expectation of future income. So that is the part one of our demand concepts. Again, for everyone who has reached itong point ng discussion natin dito, just like our other discussions, please comment your name and section on the comment section, and that will serve as your attendance. So I will see you on our part 2 of the demand concepts to be posted next week. Goodbye.